Hi, I'm Melissa Cobb. Come fly with AOPA. This week, we talked to one pilot who's behind the effort to deliver life-saving supplies to those ravaged by the wildfire on the west side of Maui. Share tips for recovering from inadvertently flying into instrument conditions, and take a look at seaplane operations.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today.
The general aviation pilots are making a difference in Hawaii. They've been ferrying life-saving supplies, food, sleeping bags, medical supplies, insulin to residents, especially in the hard-hit area of Lahaina. That area was just ravaged by the August 8th wildfires. Pilots have been flying into Kapalua Airport, and that's a private airfield that they've gotten permission to fly into, and it's actually the closest to this devastated area. Now, Lawrence Bolter is one of the local pilots, longtime resident and a flight school owner who is behind this relief effort, getting it launched just within days of those fires. He's a big proponent of general aviation and the islands. He's taken AOPA in the past around the islands for some feature articles. He took some time out of this relief operation to give us a behind-the-scenes look at what's going on and how general aviation is making a difference.
When this tragedy happened, we mobilized very quickly. So although the fire department, everybody was already, handling the fires and so forth, we were really the first responders bringing everything. I mean, we're talking, you name it, everything from sleeping bags to food to water. The road has been closed and then it opened and then it closed again. And it's been, you can imagine, it's been a nightmare, very frustrating for the residents. The GA group, and this isn't just about us, this is about the GA community. And we're talking outer island pilots, you name it. We all rallied together, quickly organized under the auspices of not only the local airport fire station, but Maui Brewing Company, who happens to own our Cirrus aircraft. They operated their factory as a hub to bring supplies, and then they would truck them over to the airport. We'd load it up, and off we go. There was no cell service, no power, no way of really communicating other than people relaying to other people on the ground, tell the pilots we need this, tell the pilots we need that. And so we didn't ask any questions, we just did it. And so the first, I don't know the number for the first day, but because nobody was counting. The second day of relief flights, we flew a total, and I say in aggregate, the GA community flew 57 airlifts in approximately, I had maybe 500, 600, 700 pounds of cargo at a time. There were a couple Saratogas that could take 1,000 pounds. So you can do the math. There was, thousands. We're talking essentially 18-wheeler loads of supplies during that day, which were badly needed. We have an avgas relief fund on GoFundMe, and we're sharing it amongst all the pilots. I've asked all the pilots to submit their fuel receipts to me. They didn't have to worry about, oh my gosh, how much is this going to cost me? I because of our sort of presence on social media, and of course, a lot of our largest donors were previous customers that have flown with us, gave significant amounts, but we're burning it, and we want to burn every penny of it to continue to doing the efforts that we're doing.
Well, Lawrence, to you, to all the pilots involved, and to everyone donating to this effort, thank you so much for what you're doing. Now, we're going to drop a link to more about this story in the description below, and that will also connect you with a GoFundMe account that's been started, and that's to help keep this effort ongoing. Well, inadvertent VFR flight into instrument meteorological conditions is something that is highly fatal. It's the majority of the accidents that happen in that scenario are fatal. AOPA flight instructor Michael Hangartner shares 4 tips to help you safely exit inadvertent flight into IMC.
IMC is any time that you're flying the airplane primarily by reference to the instruments, as opposed to visual flight rules or VFR, where you're flying primarily by looking outside the airplane at different visual references. There are a number of pitfalls that pilots can fall into that can result in an inadvertent encounter with IMC. Sometimes it's sudden, such as flying into a cloud at night. Many times, however, the process is much more insidious and the result of a chain of decisions that the pilot has made. The problem is, every situation is so unique that coming up with an all-encompassing plan that you can use every time is going to be difficult. A lot of times, any series of steps is going to be frustratingly vague. That being said, there are some principles that if you adhere to, you are likely to have a safe encounter with instrument meteorological conditions. First, remember that the best way to survive in an inadvertent encounter with IMC is to not have it in the first place. When you're getting your weather briefing, make sure that you're using every available piece of information at your disposal to assemble a comprehensive weather picture. Also though, remember that things are not necessarily going to turn out as they were forecast. Always be vigilant when you're flying and be on the lookout for unforecast weather conditions. If you do have a moment where you realize that visibility has vanished, follow these steps. First, don't panic. The airplane flies the same way in the clouds as it does when it's in clear air. In fact, the most dangerous variable in an encounter with IMC is typically the pilot. Make sure that you remain in control of the airplane. Do whatever it takes to keep calm. Assess the situation. There's no one right answer when the question is, what's the best way to exit IMC after entering? A lot of times we'll hear that the best course of action is to make a 180-degree turn and to exit the cloud the way we entered. A lot of times that might be the case, but not always. Every situation is different. Maybe once you've entered the cloud, you notice that things are slowly getting brighter. Well, if that's the case, the best course of action might just be straight and level flight and to try to exit the cloud on the other side. Maybe you were climbing when you began to brush up against the cloud, and if that's the case, then the best way to exit would just be to initiate a slow descent. Or conversely, maybe you entered the cloud as a result of unsuccessful scud running. You were below it, and the train began to rise, and suddenly you're in IMC conditions. Well, if that's the case, the best course of action might be to continue to fly straight, but to initiate a climb. That way that you'll ensure that you're going to stay above any terrain that you might potentially fly into, and also you might be able to get above the cloud layer. 3, remember that it's always important to aviate and then to navigate. Maintain control of the aircraft. You can worry about where you are and where you're flying later. The easiest way to fly is typically straight and level flight. So do that first. Look at your attitude indicator and just remain in control of the airplane. If you do decide to initiate a 180-degree turn, make sure that you use a small bank angle, no more than 20 degrees. If it's your first time in IMC conditions, that is not the time to suddenly begin aggressive maneuvering. You're only going to make things more difficult. Finally, don't be afraid to ask for help. One thing that I would emphasize is to only do this if you are in an area of what you believe is widespread IMC and if you already are firmly in control of the aircraft. Contacting ATC is going to increase your workload. That being said, if you do need help, then don't hesitate to contact air traffic control and don't worry about getting in trouble for doing so. Just remember that the first rule is to always fly the airplane.
Thanks, Michael, for sharing what could be life-saving tips. Well, in industry news, ForeFlight has released an update to help improve pilot situational awareness. The update includes enhancements to synthetic vision, obstacle and terrain strike location, as well as runway information for certain types of aircraft. And listen up, if you have an Apple Watch, they have brought back their app for the watch. So if you're a ForeFlight subscriber of any level and you have the Apple Watch, be sure to check out that newly released app. Well, backcountry aircraft kit manufacturer Bearhawk has announced an update to its 4-place Bearhawk Model B. It can now come with a 180 horsepower engine. That's the Delta Hawk DHK 180 Jet A piston engine. Well, next to backcountry operations, seaplane flying is one of my favorite types of flying. It's so peaceful and relaxing. AOPA content producer Alicia Heron had the opportunity to sit down with Fly Truckee Tahoe owner Kevin Sloan to talk about the difference between land planes and seaplanes.
Can you tell us just a little bit about what's different about this plane from, a normal SQ2 on wheels? Okay, well, it does have floats. That's kind of the obvious.
The big obvious thing, yeah.
This has got a climb propeller on it, which just kind of has a little different blade angle that helps it
Why
pull.
is that more important?
It gives you a little
on the
more
water?
pull, a little less speed in cruise, a little more pull off the water.
Right. Okay. Because that's a ton of that's more drag to overcome than on land.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you've got a wire that connects the two floats. If you're sitting on the water at a dock, say you're parallel to a dock, and you want to do a thorough pre-flight, which you should, or your door's on the other side, you can walk across the wire.
Nice.
Make sure that the mags aren't hot or anything like that.
Yeah. And these are amphibs.
These are amphibs, so the gear is retractable. You could take off pavement or unimproved strips, but you want to make sure it's good firm ground, and then they retract so you can land on the water.
Right. Perfect.
And have a great day on the water.
Yeah. Exactly.
This particular one has leading edge slats, which you're not going to find on most float planes, but this one's got them to overcome a little bit of the density altitude that we have here and allow us to fly at a slower speed, a lower stall speed, and again, get off the water or the pavement quicker.
Right.
Shorter ground rolls. You can work your way back. You've got water rudders.
Cool.
So,
that's a big difference.
Yeah.
I don't have those on.
And you can see they move with the air rudder, but if they did jam or something like that, they're cabled to the same pedal. But they split off and they're independent once they get to a certain point under the airframe. That way they could run independently if you need to.
Right.
And that just helps to maneuver through tight sections on the water.
So when we're flying, these are
Up. Yeah, down for idle taxi and really just idle taxi only.
Right.
Typically on float planes, you're going to find some ropes for docking, beaching, buoying, things like that.
Yeah.
You'll find wing ropes as well to help you, as you saw yesterday, so you don't have to walk all the way out in the water.
Yes.
Help you swing the airplane around, or the ship on the water, actually.
Right. What about these things?
Those are drain plugs. So these are designed to take on some water. Otherwise, with temperature fluctuations, they'll crack.
Right.
So
all floats take on some water.
Yeah,
right?
well, they should.
Okay.
Otherwise, they're going to eventually crack in some way, shape, or form. They need to be able to expand and contract a little bit.
Right.
So you pop the drain plugs off, and that's how you would pump them out.
Cool.
Yeah. These are a really tight set of floats. These are PK 2250s. They're really designed well to work with the swell that we have in Tahoe. And you just saw what we could have. No wind, but glassy swell.
Yeah.
So
There's
it works.
a lot more movement than I've experienced in my limited float flying.
Yeah. Other than that, the SQ2 is a real big wing, 40 feet tip to tip, which again reduces stall speed, gives you a lot of lift.
Yeah.
It's amazing how slow this airplane will fly.
They asked me on my check right at the very end what the top of the float is called.
The deck.
The deck, just like a boat.
Yeah.
It is a boat.
It is a boat.
When it's on the water.
It is a boat. You've got different sections of the float. These are all struts, front strut, aft strut, diagonal strut, step to step up on.
Right. Because it does have like more, there is reinforcement here because of the...
If you can imagine the amount of vibration you can get on the water, there's a lot of reinforcement.
We had a great time, and thanks for taking us through the differences of this float plane.
It's a beautiful place to do it.
It is.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amphibious seaplane operations do come with an added layer of risk, and that is the possibility of landing on water with the wheels extended, and doing so can be absolutely catastrophic. Now, when we go through seaplane training, that is part of it. We learn procedures so that right after we take off, we bring that gear up. If we've taken off from a runway, we bring the gear up, and that is in case the next landing is on water. Well, the Seaplane Pilots Foundation has released a video called Safe Amphibious Gear Operations, and that's to really hammer the importance of this home. The video focuses on the techniques and procedures to help pilots prevent a gear down water landing. So we'll drop a link to that video and quiz. It's free, it's open to anyone, you just need to register. We'll have that link in the description below. Well, here's something you don't see every day, a light turbine aircraft with a wood frame. And just by walking around it, you definitely wouldn't be able to tell that the aircraft from this cool French aircraft manufacturer has a wooden frame. To get the full details on this story, just click on the link in the card in the upper right of your screen. Well, at AOPA, we just wrapped up our summer intern program, and as part of that, we got to take our video and social media intern, Charlie Beadle, up for a flight for lunch and then around his grandparents' house. Here's a look at that special flight.
Hey everybody, my name is Charlie Beadle. I'm the video and social media intern here with AOPA, and this, you already know him, it's Eric Webb. We're going to be flying in this Piper Super Cub to Cumberland, Maryland to get a nice bite to eat for lunch. You ready to go?
Yeah, making me feel short.
Charlie, if you're watching, thanks for all your hard work this summer, and we wish you the best in what's next for you. And a special thanks to all of our interns. I hope you all enjoyed being immersed in the general aviation community here at AOPA. Well, that's it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest information. And this week, we leave you with some beautiful flying footage that came in from AOPA senior photographer David Toulis and AOPA editor-at-large Dave Hirschman flying the coastal route to Alaska in a caravan. Well, be sure to send in your favorite flying videos at the link in the description. You just might see them on an upcoming show. And as always, if you're not already an AOPA pilot, we'd love for you to join us. Just click the link at the end of the video to learn more about our trial membership. We'll see you next week.